All right, guys, we're live. So no intro did start. So that's good. So
We're
we're
live.
just going to have to kind of sit. Yeah, we're live right now. Just nobody knows it yet because they're all getting alerts. That's normally what the ticker is for. So like it usually lets me set up other things and then and let it give some time for notifications to pay off. So let me just let some people. I'm getting text now like, what happened to your stream? All right, and then I will just double check with these different sources to see that we are really there. Yeah, so I got the same title, same everything. We just need. Yeah, we're good with Rumble. Uh, YouTube, I'm not sure about, but let me just check with Facebook.
Oh, here we are.
Yeah, so we'll just give it a minute and let some people get on because we just kind of jumped on out of nowhere. And let me just double check Facebook, make sure we're good. Now, the cool thing about this software is that I can actually highlight comments instead of having the whole chat group. So if somebody does reach out and wants to talk to you guys or ask a question, they can do that pretty seamlessly. So, and we are on YouTube. Okay, so we are live on YouTube as well. Facebook. Yep, it's showing that I'm live. Perfect. Yeah, so we're live, okay, on all of them. So now it's just a matter of people being able to figure out where we are. I'm going to try and get rid of the old one. Sorry about this, guys. It was not the way this was supposed to go.
You recovered nicely.
That's right.
Well, I
As
kind of
Grant
knew
said,
that,
no, we're,
that
we're,
things
we're
could go
grassroots all
wrong.
the time. We expect this.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of had it
Welcome
in
to
my head
our
that
world.
All right. So, all right, we can go. I think we can go ahead and just get started. It's just going to take a minute for people to fully find us because we were upwards of yeah. So like Rumble's building now. We went from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6. So I'm starting to watch Rumble grow. So people are probably phasing out and getting back in as we speak. So we're gonna start this over since nobody could hear you. So
Can you hear us now?
that is an excellent question. Let me see. Let me go on. I'm sure they can now.
Well, type in the chat if
Yeah.
you can't hear us.
1 if you can, 2 if you can't. And if you
Again,
put
they may
in
not have even
2.
heard me say that.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, Lady Mern says yeah. Mern's on. She said yes. They can hear
Awesome.
us.
Woo!
All
Okay, perfect. So we're back together. Little different format, but it was a quick setup. Got it together, so that's awesome. So everyone, here we are. Lots of movement with cause. I've got our lot of regional directors on with us today. We've got Haley Shaw and Catherine, and they're Michael. They're gonna break down what what's some of the movement that we've seen in the last couple of days. If you guys haven't been following this and you're not subscribed to either my channel or both, really, to Cause Project, Convention Estates Project on YouTube and Rumble to get these updates. They broadcast live the Ohio debates or the Ohio presentations, I should say, on the floor, and also Iowa, Rhode Island was one. So they were hitting so many. I was like, okay, there's not enough time. I would have literally had to take the day off of work in order to listen. So I had to go back and listen to everything. But it's all good, right? It's all good news that came out of all these states. So So with us, we have Cause Project regional directors who are all together at a big powwow in Florida right now, right? You guys have been there for what, a week or so?
Couple days.
A couple days. Okay. Okay. So
Soaking in the
let's get,
sun.
yeah, Haley, why don't you start us off? So let us know like what your states are, what
Yep.
you cover, and and what's going on with those any states that
And
jump out, that are newsworthy
she's
recently.
cheating here. You can't cheat. You got to do it from memory.
No,
Come
I am.
on.
I'm Haley Shaw. I am the regional director of what we call the Northeast Patriots. And so my awesome states are Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and New York. And we've got a lot going on. Some people might say those are uphill battles, and we're ready for those battles. So I'm Haley Shaw, and I'm going to pass it over to the two guys next to me to introduce themselves.
Me first?
Go
All
ahead,
right.
brother.
My name is Jonathan Viod. I'm a regional director with Convention of States, and I have the privilege of serving 7 of our past states that have already passed our resolution, and they include Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Texas.
You got the easy road, huh?
The easy road, that's correct.
Hey, George, my
It's
name's
like
Grant
going
Martin.
from the
First off,
hardest-
let me just say your audience reminds me of our grassroots. They're tenacious and they don't let little glitches get in the way. They're back there with you. So kudos to your audience. Thanks for having us on here with you, brother, and your audience. We
My
really
pleasure.
appreciate you. My name's Grant Martin. As I said, I have Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and West Virginia.
Nice. Right where I bought my property. We're gonna have to. we bought our bug out property there in West Virginia, just in case, God forbid, a convention doesn't get called. I'm gonna need my bunker there. And
Amen, brother.
all right, Michael, go ahead. Mike's a regular with us. Well, he's been
Hey
on
guys, this is Michael Arnold. I work in the region of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and Illinois. And I am extremely blessed to have an ARD, an assistant regional director named Stephen Patton, who has his hand fully on the pulse of Pennsylvania. And he used to be the state director of Maryland, so he's very involved with me on the Maryland team as well. And I honestly couldn't do my job without Steve. So I owe big kudos to him.
Awesome. And then Catherine, go ahead.
All right, George. Well, my region is known as the Flyover region, and we based it on the Jason Aldean song, Flyover States, because leave us alone, right? We don't need the East Coast, West Coast people coming into our states and telling us what to do. So I have Idaho, Iowa, Indiana, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio, and Wisconsin. And I have 2 past states in my region. That's Indiana and Wisconsin.
Nice. And I have a question here, but I want to, and Wild Stallion on YouTube, I'm going to go ahead and put that up in just a moment. But Catherine, I want to cover Iowa because that's one of the hot spots, right?
Right.
Iowa and Ohio are hot right now. So why don't you give us an update on how we're doing there?
Sure. So just today, we passed out of the Iowa State Government Committee with a vote of 12 to 11. And that will move us on to the full floor for a vote. We're hoping. Look pretty good in the Senate in Iowa. We're super excited for the team in Iowa. We've got great grassroots there. Still have some uphill battles, but we are optimistic about our chances in Iowa.
Awesome. Yeah, and I heard you talking with Rita Peters on one of the Cause Project broadcasts, and that first got Iowa on my radar, and I think we have Deanna Beck just jumped on here. I just got a little birdie in my ear. Let me see. I'm not seeing any video from her though yet, so we'll bring her in as soon as I get that video up. But
And we could talk about Ohio if you want to.
yes, that was my next point, was Ohio. So
Yep.
they just I just got done listening to all the grassroots speak there, and I make this point all the time when I say thank you to you guys about how professional the grassroots are and how prepared they are when they go in, and that's all, that's all organization and leadership, and so definitely want to hear you speak on Ohio.
Well, we had 17 patriots give testimony in addition to Mike Ferris. Do we assume that your viewers know who Mike Ferris is, or shall I
I would
share with
assume
them?
nothing. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Most of them do, but go ahead.
Mike Ferris is actually one of the co-founders of Convention of States, and in addition to that, he started Alliance Defending Freedom. He started Patrick Henry College. Those people who homeschool will know Mike as the Homeschool Legal Defense Fund. He started that, and if anybody knows what the Dobbs case is, Mike Ferris consulted on the Dobbs case. So he's a tremendous constitutional attorney who's argued in front of the Supreme Court, and he's one of our experts that we have. And so Mike was with us in Ohio for testimony. Just did an absolutely tremendous job testifying in front of the committee, and we're pretty optimistic there. We've got to wait until the opponents all come in. We'll hear from the folks who oppose us because they're on the left, and then folks who oppose us on the very far right, who say they love the Constitution except Article 5, right? So yeah, they love it until it's Article 5, and so we're hoping to just move folks over to our side by reason and rational conversations.
Yeah, the dishonesty is crazy to me. Like listening to JBS of all places. Here's this so-called conservative organization whose early existence were trying feverishly to get what they called liberty amendments, ironically enough,
right?
Named after or precursor to Levin's book. They called them liberty amendments. They tried to get a convention called, and all of a sudden, this change of heart, and they just all of a sudden are so anti. It's going to kill everything. It's going to destroy the country. And it's like, well, why were you guys doing it then? It's like, and on top of that, to find themselves in alignment with Soros and the League of National Women Voters, and it's just that organization stinks so bad. Like I wouldn't even bring somebody like Robert Brown on the program because the smell would come through my screen. I've got Wild Stallion is here. You guys should be able to see the question on the screen. So he's asking are there still opponents claiming Constitution's not broken, it's just not being followed? Wyoming voted it down last year on that argument. Nobody told them the 1617A broke it in 1913. So, and that's true. 16 and 17A really did do some damage to the Constitution, and my personal hope is that we can get some of that rectified. But
well, and we can speak to that argument too. They say that they don't follow the Constitution. Hey, I'm a woman. Do I get the right to vote? That's an amendment. So they do follow that, right? 18-year-olds vote. We have 2 terms for the presidency. And my fellow colleagues, anybody else want to speak to when they say they don't follow the Constitution, that they actually follow the Constitution? It's that annotated Constitution that some of us carry around this 3,000 pages. So yeah, that's not a
which Constitution.
Yeah.
I thought I had an image of it, but it's overblown. All right, so wait, maybe I do.
You had it.
I have it, but it's too big. I'm on this.
That's right. That's right.
It's too big.
It's too big. That's the problem.
That's why I use the other software. It's funny because, except that you guys can't speak. So I can show videos, I can show images, but you guys won't be allowed to speak. How about that? Oh, there it is. There it is.
Yeah.
This large version of the Constitution is what these good folks are talking about, and it includes and the pocket, of course, leaning up against it to give some perspective. That's the one that they're following, is that large one, right? And that's with all of the Supreme Court decisions, et cetera. And again, it's the SCOTUS that got us in this mess in the first place, is it not?
Right.
People can hate on Biden and Obama, or if you're on the left, you hate on Trump and Bush and whatever. But it's like they didn't get us into this mess as far as the constitutional mess. That was the Supreme Court with the death by 1,000 cuts and all of these little horrible decisions. None worse than the Commerce Clause, which wasn't little, right? So that wasn't a little one. But a lot of them were little, just little inches and inches and inches, getting us these regulatory agencies and all of this like, pushed out power. And it's like there's only one way to undo. Like people think the Supreme Court is the final say on things, and I'm like, no, they're not the final say on things. We are, and there's one way to do it, right, guys? And I think we all know what it is: constitutional amendment, right?
Yep.
So,
Amen.
and that's what makes this so important is that because they go off that precedent, right? And you look at their decisions, and I'm one of those wonky dudes who reads the actual court opinions after the decisions come out.
So you're the one.
Yeah, I'm that guy. I'm that guy. And like the only one, honestly, of the last three that have come in that I really love is Gorsuch. Like
Yeah.
he's the one that's like when you read his opinion on the mandate, the vaccine mandate, like Amy Barrett and Kavanaugh, they kind of creep me out with their opinions a little bit. Like they said no, but they were like, yeah, you can't do this, but it was the reason. Their reasoning was, well, the legislature hasn't given you specific authority to do it. That's why you can't do it. And Gorsuch's opinion was like, I don't care if they give you specific authority. They don't have the authority to give specific authority to a regular. And I was like, yes, this is my guy right here. Like, this is my dude. But yeah, so I mean, just highlighting the importance here, right? And then who do we have? Is that Deanna that's on there?
It is.
All right, so Deanna moved over with Mike. Okay, great. I was wondering, I'm like, there's no one on the video here. So Deanna, how are you?
I'm great. I just got off a call with our volunteer activists in Idaho. We're prepping them for testimony. So
Nice.
that's late and getting on, and then my video is not working. So Michael rescued me.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Perfect. So what states do you cover?
We call our region the Wild West region, and it is the Mountain Plains states. So let's see if I can get them all right. North and South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, and Idaho. We joint do Idaho, Catherine and I.
Oh, nice. And Idaho, do we have a date for? Do we have a date? For Idaho?
Not quite yet. Maybe
Not yet?
soon.
Okay, I gotta mark this stuff down because they catch me by surprise with these live events. It's like I'm like in the middle of a presentation, like ding, and I look at them like, oh man, Ohio's live right now. I'm like, I gotta go
They
back.
sometimes catch us by surprise
That's
too,
right.
and they're
Yeah.
we're caught by surprise. So we
No,
have a
that's-
couple. Sometimes we have a day or two to get everything organized and get the grassroots, alerted. So we don't get a lot of lead time as well, and that's what kind of is really amazing with our teams and our grassroots is, in a tiny amount of time they can turn around and we can get people to the Capitol and ready to testify and professional and knowledgeable and always with a smile. So I mean, our grassroots are absolutely amazing.
And I remember there was a moment, I want to say maybe it was 2 years ago, where like there was, I think it was when this like flurry was going through, when all four of those states came through. And there was one situation where like in the same day, they like heard, and they heard one, I think the House heard it in the afternoon or in the morning, and then the Senate heard it at
West
night
Virginia.
or something. Oh,
Yep.
is that right?
They
West Virginia.
passed out of the House and then out of the Florida Senate within an hour of one another.
That's wild. That is
The
wild.
Senate president actually walked over, grabbed it from the speaker, took it over to the Senate chamber, and they brought it up and voted on it.
We'd love that to happen more often.
That's right.
I'll be honest with you. I got a feeling there's going to be some stuff like that going down this year. I mean, I just with all of these different, there's so many things that could happen and happen quickly. I mean, the quickly part is what you can never guarantee, right? Because we're all on the whim of like what they do, right? So they could turn around and decide it, and I think a lot of it comes down to where our sponsor is in this, right? Like is he is he head in the house? Is he where is he? How much influence does he have on the decisions? That might help as well, I suppose. But it's still.
Well, and can I talk about that for a minute, George?
Yeah, for
Because,
sure.
legislators oftentimes get a pretty bad rap sometimes. And I want to say that when people say there are no George Washingtons, there are no Thomas Jeffersons out there, George Masons, they are out there. And we get the pleasure of meeting these legislators all of the time. I am so blessed to work with Representative John Wills out in Iowa, who is such a patriot. He's really fighting so hard for this. And so I want people to know that there are good men and women serving in the legislature, and they need to get to know their legislators, have a relationship with that legislator. You'd be surprised, when you start building that legislator relationship, you can be influential. That's why the power belongs at the state level, right? Because
That's
it's
right.
closer to the people.
That's 100% correct, and and I talk about this all the time on the broad. Like one of the things when me following the Convention of States movement has done for me is it's gotten me to watch a lot of these state legislatures operate, and like and I remember I used to play it all the time. I don't know if I used to have the clip stored in this software where like Mark Meckler was talking and he was just in passing, like he didn't even mean it intentional, but he was like, you guys do politics, I do this, and they stopped him and were like, I'm a farmer. It's like, and then he realized, like what had happened, and like they all kind of laughed it off, but it was like just the fact that they corrected that to be like, look, we're farmers, like we're not
Right.
we don't do politics for a living, we do politics as service, and that was and he said we're statesmen is what he said, and I'm still like fishing through here as I'm talking to hopefully find it, but it doesn't look like I'm going to find it. So, but anyway, it was a great quote. It was, and it's one of those things where as I watch these legislatures talk and I watch them interact and I listen to the stories, and I realize, these are not the same type of people. These are not lifelong politicians. These are not, these are regular folks. They own businesses. They have jobs. They're just, yes, they ran but they're not looking, they don't have ambitions to the presidency or anything like that. They just want
And
to
they're not
serve
paid
their state.
squat, right? Most of them aren't paid squat. So
Exactly. Was it New Hampshire that was getting paid? Like they haven't given themselves a raise since like,
$100.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's like the
in the Constitution.
1700s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, these are not people who are doing this. They're doing it they're doing it for the love, and I'm
Right.
sure that they're mixed throughout the states. You may get a legislator here and there who aspires to whatever, but not the whole legislature. Like it'd be like an individual guy or girl that eventually aspires to stuff. But like even those people are probably more like those Tea Party people that Mark Meckler talks about. Like before they get eaten by the machine, they go in, all valiant with their, with their goals and wishes and dreams, before the machine, steps up and grinds them into pieces and and things
But
go
and
south.
even still, I mean, you have access to them, right? You run
Yep.
into them down at the store. You can get an appointment with them most of the time, even if they're in leadership at the Capitol building, or when they're back home in their office. Try doing that with your U.S. senator or your U.S. congressman.
They
Exactly.
can actually come home.
Right.
They're in
That's
DC all the
right.
time.
That's right.
Absolutely, and that's by design, right? Like that's how it's supposed to work. It's supposed to be. That's why 1913 for me goes down as like the worst year, one of the worst years in constitutional history with those two amendments that passed, because it was supposed to be. If you get a Mitt Romney out there or one of these other doo-doos like Liz Cheney or whatever, you know, she these guys start going off the rails mid-cycle. You should have been able, like it was designed that you can go to your local legislature and just have the clown come out and hook them, and just bring them back in, right? And it's like now you can't do it, right? Now you gotta wait 6 years. It's like well, wait a minute, that's 6 years. Like, so I mean, I would love to see them. My greatest fear is that they're not going to tackle that, but I feel like state legislatures know that I remember watching Santorum, kind of give him a smack on the back of the hand during the simulation, and that was fun to watch because I was like, anybody who's active right now, you'd be listening to this. You know what I mean? Like this was on you guys, right? Like when you guys get called up there, get rid of that, right? 17th has to go.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up the simulation because a lot of these legislators who attended that went back to their states so excited about having attended the simulation. They're fired up. They understand how the process works so much better now, and they're sharing that with their colleagues. So it was really a wonderful event, and I just think Convention of States Foundation did such a tremendous job putting that on. And I want to encourage people, if you haven't watched any of it, to go to conventionstates.com and certainly take a look at the videos because it's fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. The simulation. When I covered it, I called it the greatest civics lesson ever told. But excuse me 1 second, guys. I'm just playing with the layout here because
Sure.
every time
There
I
we
play
go.
someone's comment, I
Right.
end up covering everyone's face. I end up covering Catherine's face. So I'm trying to find a happy balance here, and I think this might be it. So it's gonna slim you guys out a little, but you may have to
We'll
do
just
some
go
hugging
like-
over there.
Well, and just so your audience knows, we're actually all together. 3 of us are sitting out in the dining room at Deanna's house. Deanna and Michael are in her office, and I'm in one of the bedrooms. So we are all here in the same house.
Perfect. Yeah. So right. Just everyone thinks you guys are like in different states right now.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, everybody's together at a Florida convention right now. So this is where all the big shots get together. They're playing Cincinnati, flying up in the air and all this stuff while they're talking. Like that kind of stuff's going on.
Nope, just the RDs here this week, helping each other, just strengthening the team and breaking bread.
Have a plan, right? You got to have a plan, and that's one of the things that I love about you guys as I watch this organization is that there does seem to be that plan. Like it's if there are obstacles or things going on, like obviously the grassroots are the ones who are carrying all the weight and doing all the lifting and making it all happen, but those they need leadership too, right? So and that's where the leadership comes in. Those guys, when I walk in, and I talked about it when nobody could hear you guys, but but the fact that they walk in so prepared all the time and so ready and like this Ohio one was interesting because that raspy voice dude was like just hitting them with it was clear that he was not a proponent. Maybe he's a JBS member, right, or whatever, but he's hitting them with these questions off the cuff and like they're just rolling with it. I mean, they're coming back with like nice civil responses. They like put them in check, but like aren't disrespectful and like just that's a skill, right? That's not something that just some people could do it naturally, but most people that's something you got to practice. You gotta get on that, and it's just the work
and
shows.
If I could give some credit to the Ohio leadership team. They just work so incredibly hard. The leadership of Bill Scott. Some of your folks out there might not know this, but these teams are all volunteers. Those people were all volunteers. They took time off of work. They drove, some of them drove 3 hours to be there for that hearing. And these are people who are just dedicated to the cause. They believe in it. And they're just not going to stop until we get this convention, plain and simple.
Do we know how many Dutaroos are on the opposition side right now to come in? I'm willing to bet they can't find 18 people.
You mean for the opponent testimony?
Yeah. When the
you'll get quite a few, but they will not be Ohio folks. They'll be folks from all over the country. Publius Hulda, she'll be there, of course, and some John Birch Society people will be there. We always have a little fun when we listen to the opposition because we know exactly what they're going to say.
Yeah, Publius Hulda kills me. I did a whole video on her. Like, George Soros is going to rewrite the entire Here's the Constitution that he proposes. Here's the Constitution that Daffy Duck proposes. Yes, it was Tuesday. And it's just like, what are you talking about, lady? Like what scares me is that there are some people, so some of the older citizenry
Right.
in some of those things who have been like they've had this stuff pumped into their head and they haven't heard enough facts pumped into their head. And it's like you see them nodding when she talks, and I'm just like, there aren't many of
Mhm.
them, but there's always like two. And I don't know, they probably came in the same car with her, but but they're always sitting right next to her in camera view, and they're always like this. And I'm just like,
Exactly.
why would you want to be on film nodding to something like that? Like it just bugs me out. It bugs me out. But I got some comments coming in here. I just want to see what some of the folks are saying. So in Ashland, this person, Cody Regal in Ashland, Ohio, I text with my rep and senator. They're cool with it. Small town, I guess. Yeah, once you get that relationship, right, they can totally it totally can become a friendship like that. So that's kind of cool. Let me see what else we got. So state legislatures should be the most powerful form of government in the USA. Absolutely, they are. They are. They just don't exercise it.
They need to
Right?
be reminded of it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. And like, people say that to me a lot. Like well, if legislators used to be, and I'm like, no, they didn't used to be. The power is still there. It's just like people saying, this used to be for by the people. I'm like, it still is by the people. You guys just don't know how to do it. Like it's like there's a difference. It's not like the power. It's like Superman, being dressed as Clark Kent when somebody jumps off a building, but he has no idea he has superpowers. It's like the person just stands there and watches the person fall to the ground. It's like so on the way down, someone taps him like, "Hey, you can fly." Oh, go in and handle it. So it's
Yeah, what it takes is courage, right? I
yeah,
mean, it takes courage to stand up against the machine and the Leviathan that's in Washington, D.C. right now, because they're doing everything they can to coerce and force states to do things essentially against their will, holding money over their head. But what it takes courage from these legislators to stand up and say no more. And the way that the legislators are going to get their courage is from we the people. We have to stand behind them, and we have to urge them to retake or reclaim their role in our system of governance.
that's all. Yeah, that's 100%. And I got a comment here from Rumble, so I can't share the Rumble comments the way I did the other ones because Rumble doesn't play nice. But it's Ginny Morgan. She was at apparently the Ohio thing where I was talking about the raspy voice guy. She said the raspy voice Ohio rep told me he liked the meeting and wants to have a further meeting with us. So like even him, right, who came off so negative in that meeting, he's still even he was like, you know what, that was a good meeting. And I'm telling you, a lot of it has to do with the way that he came back. With the way that
Right.
when he was hitting those people with questions, they were coming back with legit answers, not with like they didn't stop, they didn't rock back like like they weren't ready for it. They stood there, took the question, and even I, like when I heard the questions, I was like, ooh, this guy,
Yeah, some of them
has
were
a head,
definitely
like
gotcha questions.
yeah, yeah, and but like they responded perfectly, and I was just like,
Mhm.
and that's where I started just thinking about how good the leadership is, because I'm like, everybody that went in there was 100% ready to take on whatever, and literally whatever was going to be thrown at them, and that she's saying that he liked the meeting and wanted to meet with them again. That's encouraging on 2 points, right? It makes our point about state legislators that they're not like it's different, right? Than these showboaters and whatever. They speak just to speak, and then they go off and do whatever they're going to do. Like these folks are actually listening. I used to have a clip, and I want to say it was South Carolina. It was that year, and there were a few of them where, and I'm sure you guys have heard this a ton, right? Where they come up and they talk about it and they say, "I was against this before I read my way into being for this,"
Yep.
right? And then and it's and I was that way too. Like for a hot minute when I first learned about it, I was like, something's got to be. It can't be, And I started reading and reading, and of course I came across all the the gibber, right? The JB gibber that they keep throwing out there. I heard all those arguments, heard it through. I listened to all the doo-doo-doos like Publius Hulda and whatever. And then I went on the cause side and I started listening to that. And then I went to the founders. Right? Then I was like, all right. So I heard your side. I heard your side. Let's see what the founders have to say. And I think it was Federalist Paper 40 that sold me on the argument of, was the first Constitution a runaway? Did they not know, what their commissions were? And a quote, and I forget the exact quote, is from the bottom of Federalist 40 that JBS used completely out of context. And when I sat and read the whole thing, yeah, totally them, right? So I read the whole thing and I was like, okay, I get it now. Like that was kind of my moment where I was like, all right, I know who's lying to me now. And at that point, I'm like, all right, you guys are out, you guys are in. Got all signed up. My district captain reached out to me. We had the big conversation, all that. But really, what happened was the flip of the light switch, right? And it's like, now that this is legit, and I had done my work, and I'm comfortable that it's legit. Like, what are we doing? Like, let's get this done. Like that was the next thing that I thought. It's like, oh my God, like we have to get this done. And I just converted the channel to everything, cause, and, me and I had Jack with me at the time, and he was, we were both just all about us going to these meetings, and we're doing letter writing parties, and we're like, it was just all about it. Cause I think for those of you, grassroots out there, when you first learn about it, and this is something for those who haven't, are still on the fence, it literally is like turning a light switch. It's like the lights went on and you're just like, holy smokes, there's a solution to all of it. Like, maybe these three topics don't hit everything, but the concept hits everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact that you could just do it again. If,
Yeah.
like it's not like you can't call another one. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it shouldn't be just one, but, you should start with one just to show that it's not this big, scary, boogeyman, but, let's get one done just to show that it's real and it's an opportunity just to have that conversation for the states separate of the federal government. And that's just what's frustrating, that people just don't listen to that part. It's just a conversation amongst the states.
That's all it is, right? And it changes the face of the game forever. Like once this process gets complete, we don't got to listen to the merry band of coconuts that come in every time to talk their smack and same argument all the time, right? They all come hopping in like they're gonna destroy the country, they're gonna write their own constitution, they're gonna get rid of the second, like all just nonsense. And like they're all gone once this procedure, even if nothing gets ratified. Those people are all gone, like they're gone. And now, now for the rest of eternity, the federal government has to consider the American people. Like you'll never see another thing like Obamacare where it's got like 56, 58% disapproval, but they pass it anyway and then get on a podium and say the American people want this, right? Like it wouldn't work that way. It would be like, hey, what's going on out there? Well, we've got 4 states that have already passed petitions. Like, all right, that number's up to 7. A month later, like, and now it's like, sir, we're at 22 states. By the end of the month, they're probably going to be in convention. That the whole idea gets scrapped. We don't even have to go to convention. It's just the mere concept that people are pissed off about it enough on any issue that they want to convene. The government will just stop. Like control literally comes back to us, and I just think that that's so powerful. Let me see.
I like to also talk about people's favorite amendments they'd like to see come out of the convention. That's a really fascinating conversation to have with people. I know people love term limits. I know people love the idea of a balanced budget, but there are so many other things we can do with this convention under the size and scope, the jurisdiction of the federal government. Like, for example, single issue or single subject bills. That's one of my favorites.
Yep, that is one of mine as well. I was semi excited when Gates got the House to agree to it, even though they didn't really execute on that. But I like
Right.
the fact that he was able to even, the fact that there was even someone in there who was thinking about it. It was like, like I just totally have dismissed Congress altogether in my head. I'm like,
And another example of something that uh, our application gives us the ability to handle under that size and scope aspect of our resolution. And Mark Meckler and Senator Rick Santorum just published an op-ed about this in the Daily Wire. We can actually solve the crisis at our southern border, right? We
yeah, I
can
heard that.
enable the states to actually have the ability to go in and defend the people of their state. And this is something that can be done. So we hear a lot about these states that are out there that feel that this is an important thing. They've been cheering on Texas taking a stand against the federal government. Well, we can get a convention held if these states jump on board. We only need 15 more, and then we can actually get in there and solve this issue once and for all. So there's a lot that can be discussed at a convention, and it goes beyond, like Catherine was saying, term limits and a balanced budget, but actually doing some things like sealing and solving the crisis at our southern border.
Yeah, and I heard, I heard Meckler say that too, and it was funny because forever I've been like, look, the border's not really covered, you know, in these three topics. But when I heard that take, I was like, that's kind of a hot take because that's right. It does, if at minimum, right, it ends the conversation about whether or not a state can defend itself, which the founders likely didn't articulate in more detail because they wouldn't imagine people would be such
Right.
idiots as to not defend our own border. Like, there's just some things you got to assume. Like, all right, you're not going to let the world invade our border openly. Like,
Yeah.
but that's a good take. That yes, it is true now that this movement. Now we don't have to wait for another one. Can have a serious impact on the border for sure. And then let me see here. I got it now. One of mine that I actually been talking about lightly, which I've never really heard addressed from cause action. So I'm not gonna. I will make the disclaimer that this is not an official whatever. But my concern is about technology right now, the fourth revolution, and the invasion of privacy, and that it would, in my mind, there is precedent here, there is authority here under the government overreach to address that before it gets out of control. Because I work in the tech sector and I know how fast, look, legislation is always behind technology, always.
Oh yeah.
And but like we know what's coming right now, like we know what's about to happen, and it's already at a point where surveillance in the private sector is outrageous, and the fact that they can, like the fact that Google knows me better than I know me is a little concerning, right? So like protections in there to undo that and just not, just take those rights away. Yeah, it's gonna change the way the nation advertises. I think we'll survive that. you know I think we'll survive a traumatic change to the way the advertising industry works, because really what they're collecting for the sake of advertising spills into the level of extreme creepiness, and like, you know where does the line get drawn? It doesn't. So like, to me, as far as private transactions, private purchases, like I should be able to purchase something without anybody knowing that I purchased it. Like, there's no reason for the government to know about everything that I purchase, right? CBDC, I don't know how much you guys follow this stuff, so like I'm a little wonky on this globalist stuff, but like the central bank digital currency, all that type of stuff where they can track your purchases, turn your money on and off. It's really creepy, and it's already there
Yeah.
in the CCP, and we're working on it. And I'm like, just preempt it all, and just put like a blanket statement amendment, like that just that and I have a few different versions of the language. I won't get that wonky right now, but like, but just put a blanket statement amendment that just kind of locks in our privacy and ends the tech sector, you know, getting into people's lives in ways that I just think that they shouldn't be. And and so that's something, that I would put out there. It's kind of important to me, right there with the single subject amendment, which I also think is probably, right there as one of the more powerful. I mean, no more omnibus bills, right? So
Yep.
that's a big deal, right? You want to spend, $200 million to know the cocaine habit or the effect of cocaine on Japanese quail sex habits. You could do that. You're just gonna have to do it in this bill right here that specifically says what
Right.
you do.
Yeah.
Let me know how that vote goes. Like, so that's like a self-solving problem right there. So,
Yeah.
but you're getting a lot of love from the peeps out there. They're
Well,
definitely.
I mean, we're only, we're a couple of people here, but the people that are really in the fight are the volunteers and the grassroots in our states, and they're the ones that give a lot of time, love, energy to this movement. We just kind of we're the between
Yep.
the convention of states and them. We can keep them all together, but they're really the rock stars.
Yep, absolutely, and I definitely communicate with them as well. I know Mern is on. She's in Jersey. She's on Rumble right now, so I can't give her the highlight love that I normally do. But yeah, there's other district captains like Sheila Malloy was another one. She's one of the first ones actually that noticed what I was doing. It was like, hey, like, hey, there's just this guy, like he's talking about
Well,
Article
you're
5.
you're known in the grassroots. I mean, they talk about this show all the time, and they say, "Oh, have you seen the Patriot think tank?" So you're talked about in all of our states.
That's awesome to hear. That's awesome to hear. Because I got lots of love for the grassroots, man. That like I totally get. I've had these conversations with like Mern and Sheila and whatnot and Mike. About all the traveling and all the prep work and the meeting work and the organizing and I mean I know that it's not easy. And it's and out here in the People's Republic of California, it's definitely like I can feel your pain having New York and whatnot. I know I did have Silverwolf on though.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I did have her
She's a
on as well.
fighter. She's great. She's our state director in New York. She is a fighter. I mean, Silver, she'll go anywhere, everywhere. She talks about convention of states. She's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
she's
and that
pretty
whole,
cool, so.
I have to give a shout out. That whole New York team is awesome. I mean, all of my states are awesome, but you mentioned Silver and that team. I mean, New York is a tough state and they have a pretty big team and they're out there, they're fighting that good fight all the time. And they're amazing.
Yeah, and I got a feeling New York is kind of like California in a way where, well, obviously in at least one way, but in general, there are a lot more patriot-minded people in California than those outside the state really recognize. Like there are a lot of like, cause I'm inland. I don't live like I would never live in LA or any of these other cesspools of whatever San Francisco with their poop apps and stuff like that. Like that's not my style. I'm more inland, suburbia kind of thing, and like this area, like people are conservative minded people, like not even necessarily just politically, like just in general, like they're just about their young families, they're about taking care of their kids. All the crazy stuff from even the Democrats don't agree with the crazy Democrats, like they're like none of them agree with the nutty stuff like what bathroom do I use, like all that stuff is just that's just little coconut stuff. But like the real psychos live in LA and places like that where they buy into that stuff. And New York, I get the feeling is the same way. Like I know you guys almost turned governor there, you know what I'm saying? Like which is a fight in and of itself, but they almost pulled it off, which means they're right on the cusp. And like if New York is right on the cusp, it's sky's the limit, man.
Yeah.
If
Well, I mean,
New York,
in New York, there's a movement to try to flip the Senate, and they have to flip 12 seats. So, if they could do that, that's one part, of the legislature that balances things out in a better way. So hopefully, they can do that in New York.
no, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. And I left this, so I want to get all of your feedback on this one. So I left this from Cody Raggle up here on Facebook. Is he saying, I can't remember, can the president line item veto? And the answer to that, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, is at the moment, no. right? It's the whole bill or nothing if he's going to veto. And the reason I left this up is because I would be remiss to not get your opinions on the whole Ron DeSantis starting, in Florida, a separate application that's like the same thing as this application. Like, what are you guys allowed to even comment on that, or is that too hot to like?
Make dreams in your head.
I'm happy to answer that.
We're gonna give it to the Florida man.
Fair enough. So I'll take it then.
No.
we got
I'm happy to
Jonathan
talk
right
about
here.
it.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Oh yeah,
All right.
yeah. So Governor Ron DeSantis is an endorser of Convention of States, and I think now that he has been out there and he sees all of the issues that are going on, he recognizes that a solution to this issue is Article 5 and is trying to get the message out there about Article 5. And unfortunately, even though he's an endorser of ours, we just haven't been able to stay in contact with his office, and we need to reconnect. We're working on that as we speak. Actually, we're working to reconnect with his office, because I think he may not understand, and perhaps his advisors don't fully understand that a lot of the things that he's looking to accomplish through these various different Article 5 conventions and resolutions that they're looking to pass through our state here in Florida are all handled under our resolution, right? And it's kind of funny too.
The veto, right? That one technically, he wants.
That one I'm not sure. I think
that could be scope.
I think it might fall under scope, but I'll leave that
but
to
it would like add a power, though, right?
The Article 5.
It would be.
Yeah, I'll leave it to the Article 5 experts to comment specifically on that one. But everything else that he's looking to accomplish does fall under our resolution. We've got 19 states. We only need 15 more to go. And many of these states, Governor DeSantis was there, especially Iowa, just recently trying to run for president. So he's got a lot of influence in many of these states. And I feel like if we're able to reconnect with him and explain to him that many of these things can be accomplished through our resolution, that we'll ultimately be able to get it across the finish line in some of those states with his help and with the help of others that have been supporting Governor DeSantis as well. So I think it's just a matter of getting into a room and having a conversation with him and explaining that. And, we're not necessarily, obviously, we're in favor of an Article 5 convention, right? So there are a number of resolutions that are out there that are looking to hold a convention. There's BBA, it's been out there forever. U.S. term limits, they've been out there. But ours will address not just one single issue, but really get at the symptom, not treating the symptoms, but treating the disease, as Dr. Tom Coburn used to talk about. And that's why we're trying to get our resolution and why we favor our resolution over the others. You don't want to get to a convention and have that whole process, and it's going to be crazy. This convention is going to be historic. It's going to, imagine the media coverage, and a lot of people get concerned about where it could go and think that it's going to be something that's going to be decided like it was in 1787 when, people rode in on horseback and no one knew what happened until a couple months later when it came out. That's not going to be the case, right? Twitter and Facebook and all of social media is going to be a buzz. The media coverage is going to be insane, and it's going to last quite a while. It's not going to be something that's going to happen overnight. So why have all of that hubbub about a convention that would be limited to only discussing one thing, right? We want to be able to talk about a number of things, not everything, not looking to rewrite the Constitution, not looking to talk about Second Amendment rights, and folks are always afraid about that, but addressing some of the real core issues with what's going on with our federal government. I think it would be a missed opportunity not to have the opportunity to address all of those issues in one convention.
And I'll expand upon what Jonathan said, if I can, too.
Yeah.
We talked about social media covering this. Of course, the mainstream media will have to be covering it. But how about every classroom in every public school who is looking at this, and the civics education that children will get?
I don't know. Are they going to allow that in public schools in these indoctrination mills? Are they going to actually allow people to see what goes on in a constitutional republic? I don't know.
I'm going to defend some of those good teachers out there. They're still there. They
are,
are. They're still
but the
there.
curriculum
Amen.
itself
Amen.
it's not the teachers, it's the curriculum. Well, sometimes it's the teacher. There are some doo-doo-doos out there. You see these videos that I'm like, but most teachers are just good people who are just doing their
Right.
job and just want to, despite the coconuts that kind of fall in between. But as far as the curriculum, like civics was taken out of the classroom in the late 60s, like replaced with social studies. Like it just reeks of freaking communism. It's like, and the entire point of it was to do what it did was to make us dumb, was to make it to a point where now, instead of just calling for a convention of states, we first have to educate the entire country on exactly what that
True.
is, and that's a win for them, right? So they got that off now. All right, but it's like, all right, our eyes are open now, so now it's starting to turn the other way finally. But like, it's just one of those things though, where I think you're right. And with DeSantis, I love DeSantis. Like I've been a big fan of DeSantis. I've talked him up. I've talked him up. There was, I mean, until they started attacking Trump with these crazy cases and stuff. Like I was all for DeSantis in the primary. I was like, I'm in, baby. Let's do it. But then they started attacking Trump, and I'm like, all right, there's no way DeSantis is winning this election. It's like 2028 maybe. I'm like, but right now these guys are making a martyr out of Trump. I was like, there's no way it's going to happen. But then I still, had to defend DeSantis as some people would come after him. When I heard him, and one of the reasons I love him was his such a proponent for convention of states. And then I heard that, and I was like, does he not? I don't understand. Like they already passed this. I'm like, I ended up thinking, well, maybe he just wants to like get his name attached to it, like associated with it, kind of thing, because it predates him, right? Like it passed in Florida almost immediately, right? So
Yeah, he was in the legislature.
Yeah,
oh, was
it
he?
passed in
Okay.
Florida 10 years ago this year. We're actually going to be celebrating at the rally in Tally in 2 weeks on February 20th, our 10th anniversary. So if you're in the Tallahassee area or if you're in Florida, come on down. Mark Meckler is going to be there. So we are going to celebrate it. And I think, George, I really think what it comes down to is just miscommunication, right?
Yeah,
and I think
so.
that's on us too. We need
That's
to
the
make
best
sure that
explanation
we're
I've
reaching
heard.
out to Governor DeSantis and reconnecting and reestablishing that relationship so that this way we can get our ally back on the track with us.
Yeah, that's the best explanation I've heard. I mean, like I knew it had to be something like that. I'm like, he's probably just, someone in the legislature probably introduced it, not knowing that this already went down 10 years ago. Because it's not like he passed it, right? So like the legislature just did it. So he just heard about it. Probably there's a whole new legislature. Half of them probably don't even know they already
Well,
have
what's
a
interesting
resolution.
too is the two pieces of Article 5 legislation that they're looking to pass right now are the balanced budget and the U.S. term limits. Florida's already passed both of those already. Like
Right.
we're on the books for both of them already, including the Convention of States resolution. So I think there's just some confusion about
Yeah.
what's going on. And
But
again,
that
I think
excites me because now it's like,
yes,
well, like if DeSantis, like if that was really just miscommunication, he decides to use his podium to really like ramp it up for convention of states, like that could be a game changer because other
no
governors follow
question.
him, other legislatures follow him. Like he gets something done, like he'll remove Confucius Institutes from schools. Like 5, 6 other states remove Confucius Institutes from
Yeah,
schools.
he's definitely a leader
Oh,
among
without a
governors.
doubt. I mean, my
Yeah.
favorite was BlackRock pulling the Florida's pension fund out of BlackRock. Like that was just like that just tells me he's got a full handle on what exactly the threat to this nation is. And it's like when he pulled that out, I was like, and then other states followed. I'm like, this guy, I need this guy in the Oval Office. I was like,
Yeah, well,
I'll wait
I
till
consider myself
2028.
a political refugee from New Jersey, and I made it here to the free state of Florida thanks to Governor Ron DeSantis. So we would love to get him going for Convention of States. I think that would be a huge lift.
An enormous mouthpiece he would be. An enormous mouthpiece. I mean that's someone who could really change the game. As far as like Trump, on the other hand, like I don't even think he knows what it is, but at the same time, I'm like, if he got into it, like it could go both ways, like because we need both sides on this one, and he's about as polarizing a human being as I think could ever have existed in the political sphere. I don't know anybody. You either love Trump or you can't stand, you hate Trump. There ain't no, well, I got to hear him a little more. You don't get those people. You get love or hate. So I'm kind of glad that he's quiet. But DeSantis, that's a win. We get that dude pumping out convention estates. We'll
people
be
need
moving
to tweet Governor DeSantis, write DeSantis a letter. I don't know if you're grassroots out there, get in touch with him.
Yeah, absolutely, folks. Folks, especially anybody in Florida or surrounding areas, absolutely hit that guy up. After you're done signing the petition, that's what you can go ahead and do. So, because of course, everybody who's watching this broadcast has signed the petition already, right? So we're not even gonna, if there is someone out there who, by some rare chance, just didn't even realize that the petition was out there, you can get there. And I won't even promote my own website because I'm outnumbered right now. So you can get there by going to conventionestates.com. I usually tell them go Patriot Think Tank. I have a big link on the front page that goes to your site. But I'm outnumbered today. So we're going to tell everybody go straight to conventionestates.com, sign the petition, click the volunteer button, and somebody local will reach out to you. Right? It's about time that we all learn how to handle things locally and how to take care of business locally. So, and I'm actually shocked. We still got a decent amount of people on Rumble. Like I said, I got 20 people watching on Rumble with 600 followers. And on Facebook, I can't see. On Facebook, there are 5. I didn't even look at YouTube, but just to show you the difference between platforms, this is why, with 18,000 followers, by accident, there should have been 100 people that tripped over something or hit the wrong button and ended up here. but instead, the good thing is, though, people will catch up on Facebook after the fact. A lot of my Facebook followers will come back to the channel and check it periodically because they know they're not getting alerts and stuff. But Rumble, salute to you. We got to do more for our Rumble crew out here. And I don't even have my Twitter feed open. So, but Twitter, if you guys have not followed the channel on Twitter, for all great conversations, all things Convention Estates, absolutely follow me on Twitter. It's at Patriot Think Tank. And then, I think we've been, what is it coming up? I was coming up on 10 o'clock for you guys, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, some of us have to fly home tomorrow.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
We're driving home tonight.
Drive home tonight.
We drive home tonight, like Grant. Yeah.
Are you driving home tonight?
Aye, brother.
Oh, dear. That's some...
We're road warriors.
I was going to say that's some dedication right there.
That's the life of a regional director there in Convention Estates.
That's right.
Come join us. Come join us.
You too could be driving home at the wee hours of night.
But I will tell you though, we are blessed. We are truly blessed. We get the opportunity to work with the most amazing human beings, patriots on this planet, and we are any small sacrifice that we do as RDs pales in comparison to what our grassroots volunteers do on a daily basis. It's truly awe-inspiring. And if you're not involved with Convention Estates, join an amazing group. You will be surprised and elated to be with the quality of people that we have in this organization. So,
yep, and it's great to be around like-minded people as well. And at the same time, when you guys, the effort and the stuff that the grassroots do, and the fact that there have been state legislators, folks, who told stories about one constituent completely changing, over a cup of tea, completely gave him materials to read, and he made him promise he would read them, and he went and read them, and turned that legislator over from someone who was opposed to someone who was sponsoring or was very active, at least in getting the bill, where he was standing up during the hearing. So
but George, can I'll throw in one other thing about our grassroots. This is the type of relationships that some of our grassroots build with their legislators. Some of those legislators call them on matters outside of COS, asking them what they think about this other piece of legislation. I mean, and that's really the type of relationship that a lot of our all the men and women out there in the field are developing, and that's certainly what we encourage. That is what our representative to the republic is. That you have to have a voice in the process, which means you have to engage with your representative. So it's an awesome responsibility, but it's also so rewarding to hear these stories, and we get, as RDs, we get the opportunity to collect a bunch of these different stories from out in the field, and it just really inspires you.
Yeah, I love hearing them. I love hearing them. That's like Meckler stories.
Yeah, and I would say to just build off of what Grant was saying, so many people feel like we live in a time where there's no hope. And we have the great blessing and privilege to get out there and see the best of America, right? I mean, truly some incredible patriots are part of this movement, and they provide each other hope. They provide us with hope. And for those who may feel like we're just in dark times, there is light out there, and it's within the grassroots, a part of this movement. And so to echo what Grant was saying, you want to get involved. It's not going to be a waste of your time. You're not going to feel like you're going to regret the decision of getting involved. You're going to learn a lot about the governing process of our country, about your own state. I mean, so many of us didn't know about our own legislators or state legislators or where our capital was. I had never been to a capital before getting involved with Convention of States. And it's incredible the amount of things that you learn. And of course, above all else, the relationships that you develop, not only with your legislators, but with other members of your team. So conventionofstates.com, take action tab, sign up, become a volunteer, get involved. You won't regret it.
Awesome. All right. Well, I just want to thank you guys. I know you know it's late by you, and you got a lot going on. Some of you are driving, all night long. So
only 7 hours.
Yeah,
just a few 7 hours.
Short skip. But I do want to thank you all for taking the time to come on. It's definitely an honor to have you on here. There's nothing I love more than having a good cause conversation with some dedicated cause folks, and I think we definitely have that in you guys. So, for all you do, we'll be looking. I'll be listening and watching and talking on all these states that are coming up. Definitely, Catherine. I'm looking forward to Iowa and Idaho and Ohio, and we still got North Carolina coming up. We still got there's a lot going on out here, right? Rhode Island now is talking. So, I'm excited, and I still want to see Kansas figure out that whole whatever they were doing. I don't even know what that.
Yeah, and maybe the next time we come on, we can talk about what's called the model commissioner selection resolutions that are out there in some of the legislatures too. I'm sure you'd be really interested in that. It's how they choose the delegates, and then also the criminal penalties attached to that.
I would be intrigued by that, actually.
Sure.
Not just happy to cover it. So we will definitely, let's stay in touch. So I definitely am honored to have met everybody here. And, now we've all got contact information. You should all have my email now from the link. So we could definitely stay in communication. Of course, Michael and I will signal back and forth on our secret communications. I always know it's
George,
like
George, on behalf of all of us, I think we want to extend a big thank you to you for what you're doing and spreading the message. People like you are invaluable out there, just getting the message out. We're still the best kept secret. To each one of your audiences, spread the message. It's one of the best things that you can do. And George, really, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for just your entertaining way of doing this, having us on, and just your passion for saving our great nation. You're obviously an amazing patriot. Look forward to working with you a little bit more in the future, brother.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that. It is absolutely my pleasure and honor to do anything I can, right? And one of the things I felt here in the People's Republic of California was like, I think I might be better off trying to educate and get the message out.
Absolutely.
I was like, we got a group here trying to get Cervantes is my house rep, and it's funny, since following you guys, it got me more in tune with with my local representatives and stuff, to the point where I realized they change my district every election cycle. Like I keep going, oh, I'm in the 51st district, and they're like, no, you're not. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I just went through all this. Of course I have. No, they changed it. I'm like, son of a biscuit. I'm like, but yeah, it's fun watching them gerrymander out here. But I stay on top of them.
There you go.
I stay on top of them. All right, guys. Well, until next time. So, folks,
Thanks.
just make sure everybody out there watching, sign the
Have a good
petition
night.
at conventionestates.com.
Amen. Thank you, George.
George, thanks everyone.
Live free, folks. I'm out.
And like that,